just put it under this massive pressure, and it sterilizes the food. Harborside dispensary in California, Oakland, had a wax called HPC Pure Wax, and it was they advertised it as being a transfer of the cannabinoids and terpenes from one chamber to another by heat and pressure. And I have not been able to run anything down on that. I think it was basically maybe a rosin press, because rosin presses, as we'll see in a second here, are using heat and pressure to push the oil out of that trichome. I did find, though, a patent on hyperbaric burst technology. So it was supposed to be like, if I read it correctly, it would supposedly rip the trichome apart and extract the oil out of the trichome, but we would need to use a carrier oil on that as well. So this was the only patent I could find, so I wanted to add this in here just to kind of cover all the bases. So there's some booths out here that you guys can look at some of this equipment. I think there's a booth out here on hydrocarbon extraction, and they have this short path distillation. With short path distillation now, we can make isolates, and we can separate the compounds, and we can clean the product up to where you can take like that dark tarry oil and you can make it clear, like a honey oil. A lot of these systems are putting into their vacuum system, they're putting in a cold trap to try to trap the terpenes that are making it through when you're pulling a vacuum on your extraction, and you're vaporizing off your solvent. There's going to be terpenes inside of that solvent, and this cold trap will actually collect those terpenes. Most of the manufacturers that have these that I've talked to are finding them to be, like the last guy, he said that it was he could do a pound of flour, and he could get enough terpenes out of it to do maybe an ounce of extract. So here's some vacuum ovens that there are these supplemental material that needs to be used with the hydrocarbon extraction. And then here's a bubble hash, which is now taking the whole trichome without trying to get the oil out of the trichome. And it's basically what we've all seen that where you can take a washing machine and put your cannabis in a net bag, like 190 micron mesh bag, and strain the water out of it, and you'll have, and then strain through the water, and you'll have bubble hash. And so this one I found, this rocket tank, looked like it was one of the more progressive ones, and this Eberbach, I don't know anything about this, and I don't know what the volume is on this. A lot of these things, these are smaller than they look in the pictures. Rosin press is another using the, I don't know, this is the closest I could think of coming to hyperbaric, although hyperbaric is supposed to just be, the pressure in a room. This takes pressure and puts it in between two plates, and then they use heat. It originally started when somebody took like a hair straightener and some wax paper and squeezed a bud and got the oil out of that. And this is kind of a play on that. It's not scaling up very well, though. These are the largest one I think I've seen is the middle one in here, and that's 15 inches by 15 inches. So it's not really an industrial type product yet. And one of the articles I read shows that this type of concentrate has the potential to form harmful byproducts, like they're called aldehydes. So it's kind of it's a similar in chemical composition to formaldehyde, and it's formed from, I believe, the wax being under the extreme heat and the extreme pressure of the rosin press. And one of the newer things out on the market, and it's one of the best products that I've ever tried, is called live resin extraction, where we're taking the plant while it's still green, and we're running it through like freezing it in some instances, or running it straight through like a hydrocarbon extraction methodology. You've got to eventually remove the water, but it has an incredibly high terpene content. So you can afford to burn some of these terpenes off if you're taking a full rich compound, like a high terpene load might be 3% in a regular flower after it's been cured. And a high terpene content in a raw flower before it's been cured might be 7%. So we've got a little leeway to play with that. The only problem is getting the excess water out of your end product. But we've got workarounds for that. There's going to be ancillary equipment. Anybody that's thinking about getting one of these systems, you're going to need glassware. A lot of people want to have a freezer. If you're going to be what's called winterizing or polishing off your product, you're going to need packaging equipment, loading equipment. You'll need a fume hood for anything that's volatile to do small stuff. You'll need an explosion-proof room to set up your rotovape in or set up your hydrocarbon extraction equipment. You're going to need explosion-proof equipment and electrical. All of your electrical connections have to be Class 1 Division 2. And you'll need lab benches and the like. So in conclusion, each method has its pros and cons. And each method results in a different product. So it's going to turn out like Aunt Zelda's has products. And our methodology is standard methodology that probably a lot of you already know how to do. But our products have our own methodology attached to them. Therefore, it's like making a fine wine. We've got our own recipe for this particular batch of wine. Just like all of you are going to have, one little tweak in your methodology is going to result in a different product. And all of these products are going to have, as long as they're safe, all these products are going to have a home on this market. Many of these methodologies can be intermixed. For example, like we said, the butane or hydrocarbon extraction, if you want to get the rest of the wax out, it needs to be washed in ethanol. Same thing with the CO2 oil, it needs to be washed in ethanol. And we can use extracted oil to bump up the numbers on our infused oil, or make compounds with different ratios of CBD to THC or different terpene compounds in our infused oils. Some methods require other methodologies to finish the product, like the ethanol washing off the wax. Original whole plant extraction, it results in the best adult use and the best medical product. So we don't have like Marinol selling in dispensaries for adult use or for recreational use. The plant is, these new strains that we're coming up with, they're popular for a reason. And the reason that they're popular is because it makes people feel better. Well, when we specialize in cancer, in our collective, and so and cancer involves high dose therapy. Somebody may be on 200 to 400, maybe 500, 600. We've had young people on as high as 1,100 milligrams of THC per day. And if the strain is like we used to call like a pure sativa, that would be kind of an awake strain. You're not going to sleep on it. In high doses, it's going to make most people real jittery and uncomfortable. So but unless they're ADHD or OCD, then it's going to calm them down. So we find that the whole plant and being able to take strains that we've already made that have been proven based on how the reports that we get from the dispensaries on how people are feeling or how popular this strain is for a daytime strain, how popular this strain is for a nighttime strain, and we can use that information to help keep our high-dose patients comfortable. As well as these terpene profiles also make the medicine work better. Temperature, pressure, and vacuum will alter the finished product, allowing for many unique products with the methodology. All you've got to do is change your temperature a little bit, and you're going to have a different product than me. You may change your vacuum on your rotovape, and you're going to have a different product. You might change the vacuum on your extraction methodology for your butane, and you're going to have a different product. And there's place for everybody. And that's it. And I think we have some time for questions. Oh, one more slide. Oh, I'm sorry, one more slide. And thanks to the Hawaii Cannabis Expo and our Aunt Zelda's family, patient, and friends.